Hi there, Phil Simborg with a position from a match that came up in one of my matches a couple months ago, and I found it very interesting. And I had problems with this position. I got the right, I made the right decision, but I wasn't sure I did it for all the right reasons. And I discussed it with one of my teaching partners, John O'Hagan. I'm very fortunate to have John O'Hagan, Perry Gartner, Stick, and David Rockwell for teaching partners, and I can rely on them to help me develop lesson plans for my website and for my students, which is the backgammonlearningcenter.com. And we also have a new website called mindgamecenter.com where you can purchase lessons for 99 cents and up, and on virtually every single topic of the game. And these lessons are produced by the likes of Kit Woolsey, Bill Roberti, Mary Hickey, Falafel, myself, Perry Gartner, many others, and many more to come. And this is one of the lessons that's on that site under two-away cube action, because two-away cube action has a different set of rules I found out that make it easier to apply to know when to double and when to take. As you may know, when one player is 2 away from winning and the other one is further away from winning, like 6 away, it's very common, a very common mistake for the people who are further away to just give the cube very quickly, way too quickly, thereby making it much easier for their opponent to win the match. And when you give it too quickly, you also lose the ability to give the cube at a time where it may be a little bit more tricky to take and where the other player might make a mistake and drop. So most players just give the cube way too soon. At the same time, the person who's 2 away, there's a major tendency to drop too often. Way too often it's right to just take the cube, because you're going to win the match if you win the game, and you're giving up that opportunity by just giving away 1 point in a situation where maybe it's an easy win for you comparatively, and you really should be taking the cube more. So the decision to take the cube is really pretty much set in stone. If you're above your take point, after you consider the value and the amount of gammons that you lose, then you should take the cube. It's that simple. So you have to do some calculations. Of course, the key in all cube decisions is you must know your take point and price of gammons. In a 2 away, it's not that hard. I've even made a little chart of just 2 away cube action. And most of the time, if you use about 21% or 22% for your take point and 0.5 or 0.65 for your gammons, depending on the score, you're going to be pretty close to the right numbers. There are some major numbers that vary from that. Let me just show you my chart real quick. There at 2 away, 3 away, your take point is 26%. At 2 away, 4 away, the take point for the leader is 20%, and at 2 away, 5 away, it's 17%. But the rest of them you can see, if you used around 21, 22%, you're going to be darn close. The gammon values vary greatly at these first 3 scores, going from 0.5 to 1.0 at 2 away, 4 away when you take the cube, to 0.7 at 2 away, 5 away. But then the next 2 are 0.5, and pretty much all the rest are around 0.65. So this is a pretty easy thing to memorize and learn. And at any rate, you really need to know these to be, if you're going to be a good backgammon player, or a great backgammon player. If you're going to be a good backgammon player, you better be able to estimate these. You can see what a huge difference it is to have a take point of 26% or 17%. Whether you take or drop a cube or not is going to be a big difference, as well as the gammon values of 1.0 or 5.0. The position we have on the screen right now, though, it's 2 away, 6 away, and just to make it easier for you, the take point's 22.5 and the gammon values are 0.5 at 2 away, 6 away. So what's the proper cube action here? Well, I was read and on roll, and the way we teach this is anytime you're thinking about giving a cube, don't ever decide whether or not to give the cube until you have first used Woolsey's law to decide whether or not your opponent should take or drop the cube. Well, in this case, if I were blue, my decision on whether to take the cube is based on estimating wins and gammons. I feel here that I might get gammoned about 20% of the time. And if I'm going to get gammoned, let's say 20% of the time, and the gammon value is 0.5, then we know that those gammons are worth 10 wins, or 10%. Because, by the way, at this score, winning gammons do nothing for you, so you gain no advantage by winning a gammon, so you don't subtract the number of gammons that you might win. If you need 2 points to win the match, what difference does it make if you win 4 points or more by winning gammons? It just doesn't matter at all. So estimating gammons here for blue, by the way, how did I come up with 20% experience? Putting in positions like this a lot of times, and sometimes of course I'm way off, but I do the best I can and practice, and eventually you can get pretty good at it. Reference positions help quite a bit too. For example, I know that if I've got a 1-point holding game, I'm going to get gammoned. I end up getting gammoned about 15% of the time with a 1-point holding game. Well, I know this is worse than a 1-point holding game because I don't have an anchor yet. It's quite possible for red to blitz me and start hitting me, and I may never end up with an anchor. So it's quite possible that I'm going to get gammon more than 15%. So a 20% estimate is a reasonable estimate. And by the way, I am cheating a little bit here. I've seen this position. I know the answer is 20%, but I'm assuming that I got it pretty close to right, and I would have over the board. So those 20 gammons are worth 10. Now if the take point is 22.5, 10 plus 22.5 is 32.5. That means that if blue can win the game 32.5% or more, he should take the cube. It would be an error to drop. And what do you think? Do you think blue can win this game more than 32% or 32.5% of the time? Okay, if you said yes, you're right. He actually can win this game about 35% of the time. So that's part of what you estimate. Now, if his take point with gammons is 32%, how do you know when red should double? Well, a rule of thumb that I was given by John O'Hagan, and I've tested it hundreds of times, and it works most of the time. Nothing works all the time, but most of the time his rule of thumb works. When your opponent is 2 away and there is a chance of gammons, you should double when his net value is within 8% of his take point. So again, his gammon adjusted take point here is 32. You should double if blue wins this game 40% or less. That's within 8% of his gammon adjusted take point. So obviously I don't think blue wins this game more than 40%. It's probably a double. Now there is a caveat to that. You should only double if you have at least 4 market losers, 4 rolls that you would cause you to lose your market. Because even if you're under that number, if there's no rolls or hardly any rolls where you're going to lose your market next time, what's the reason to give the cube? Because he's going to take next time anyway. Losing your market means that on the next roll, after you roll in his roll, he's still taking, or I'm sorry, he would be dropping. That means you would lose your market. So if you don't lose your market, there's no point in doubling. Well, here I believe there's easily 4 rolls. Double 2, double 3, 4 2, all point on him. 5 3, all points on him. Double 5, points on him. There's other good rolls, of course, too. 6 4 would make the bar point. Pretty good play, pretty good roll. 6 1 and 4 1 make the bar point. With 4 1 you might hit twice. I'm not sure which play you would make with a 4 1 after turning the cube. That's something we'll look at in just a second. But with 4 1, if you hit twice and he doesn't hit you back, you've lost your market there. There's no way that he's taking the cube next time. And probably because of gammons, I would say you do hit twice. You would be attacking here because gammon values are worth it. You'll win the match if you win the gammon. So probably with a 4-1 you'd hit twice. Again, we'll look at that in just a second. So clearly to me this is a double and this is a take, and it turns out, and I've got it rolled out for you already, I'll show you the rollout rather than sit here and watch paint dry and watch it roll out. You can see that this position is a big double and a small take, a very bare take. When you take the value of gammons and you come up to that 32%, he's slightly over that. When you actually is 22.5% and you add a little bit more than 10% for gammons at 0.5, you're clearly very close to dropping this cube. As far as how you would play 4-1, now let's take a look at that. Let's assume that blue now has the cube, and let's assume that red rolls a 4-1. I'm pretty confident you'd hit twice here. Let's see if I'm right. I've been wrong before. 4-1. Hit twice. It would be a 13% error to make the bar point. So you hit twice, hope you don't get hit back and go for the blitz. That would be your game plan here, especially at this score where it doesn't hurt you to lose a gammon at all. You're really on gammon go at this point. Hope this helps you. That formula for when to double applies to when there's contact at 2-away cube action. Again, if you go to mindgamecenter.com, for $1.99 you can get 10 examples of these kinds of positions all rolled out. You can get the whole formula. There's a different formula for when to double when you're 2 away, and there is no chance of gammons when there's no contact, and that's very valuable to know as well. Hope you enjoyed the lesson. Hope to see you on mindgamecenter.com. And by the way, I don't mind plugging mindgamecenter.com because we're giving a donation for every lesson that's sold to the USBGF. Really, I think it'll be that site will be a real service to the members of USBGF and people interested in backgammon. There's so much to learn there from so many great teachers. So thanks for watching, and bye-bye.